Hello and welcome back to my floor. So today I'm doing the first part of a two-part thing, mostly because I'm a little sick. So doing all of it at once is gonna really be draining for me. Today I am going through and explaining the entire plot of National Treasure, Edge of History, because I love the show, genuinely. The show came out like late 2022, it ended in 2023, it did the weird Christmas break thing. And it is a continuation of the National Treasure series, but as a TV show. So the characters are completely different. There's a new plot, everything. I understand that these are kind of hard to see, some of them. Look, I tried. We can only win so many things. But yeah, this will be the first 5 episodes, and the next week you'll get the second 5. But, let's get into it. Oh, I should say before I start, because there's a lot of plot lines, a lot of different locations, there's a lot of jumping back and forth where it's like we do a 10-minute scene in one place, a 2-minute scene, a 5-minute scene, but everyone's somewhere else. So sometimes the plots will be, I'll like take one of those small plot lines and like put it with the second half of it, just for ease of me, but it'll get jumpy, which is why the highlighter will be used as a pointer. This is the best pointer I have, so we're gonna just use what we have. Anyway, let's start for real. So the show actually starts in 2001, right after the events of what would be National Treasure, where Peter Sadusky, this man right here, is recording a tape talking about the Pan-American treasure. Now, who is Peter Sadusky? You actually know him if you've seen the National Treasure movies. He is the FBI agent who arrests Nick Cage's character, Ben, for stealing the Declaration of Independence. So, there is links to the original, but he is talking about a treasure, and then kind of at the end of that, we get a direct flashback to Mexico City, where we see a man like breaking in. He's stealing an object from, I believe it's a church. I do have notes. I'm not gonna reference them all the time. It's a little fun to see what I remember. But he's breaking into a church, and then he makes it home to his wife and daughter. He tells his wife and daughter to leave for their own safety and cross the border into the US. That daughter, we find out 21, I can do math. We find out 21 years later is our main character, Jess. So Jess's father is presumed dead, because during this flashback we see him not only fight a couple other men, but we also see the entire house basically go up in flames. After that, we kind of fast forward. We're in modern day, 2022 roughly. They're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Jess, our main girlie, is with her friends Ethan, Tasha, and Oren in an escape room, and Jess is very good at solving puzzles, so they beat what's considered an unbeatable escape room until Oren, our man over here, pulls out his phone. You're not allowed to have phones, so he ruins it, but it's all good. Nothing horrible. We then get introduced to our main villain, Billy. Billy is played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I find that very important to tell everybody. Billy is in Madrid. She has just purchased a home under mysterious circumstances. The owner may not have been killed by her and her team. She busts down the wall to find a load of ancient artifacts, including Cortez's sword, which will be important later. But she does not find what she is looking for. Back in Baton Rouge, we find out that Jess's mother died the year prior of illness. Do I remember what? No, I think it might have been cancer though. And she now works for a self-storage company. Yay! We'll now go through all the friends' occupations. She works at a self-storage company and wants to join the FBI because she's good at solving puzzles. I don't get it either, but good plotline, I guess. Another important thing to note about Jess is because she crossed the border illegally as a child, she is a recipient of DACA. So if she leaves the country, she will never be able to come back. It's important to know about DACA, and like, she always has a bag packed in case the authorities came. So like, she was always ready to leave. Ethan, I can't remember if he's in law school or like a lawyer, but something you should know about Ethan is I hate him. I do not like Ethan. Ethan is one of the friends. They've been friends since like middle school because Jess's mom tutored him, I believe. We have Tasha. Tasha is a streamer and a YouTuber, and I believe she's also a hacker. I know. But she's also some sort of hacker and very anti-government. And then Oren, our lovely boy over here. Important note about this actor, was in the Jagged Little Pill musical on Broadway. Just thought everyone should know. He's like a big sneakerhead, so he like does YouTube for sneakers and stuff, and it's like, that's how he makes money. So like, they need to make it clear no one has like a real job, so when they all run around for like 2 months, they're good. But Jess currently works for a self-storage company and is hoping to get promoted to manager, and to do that, she needs to find the owner of a locker that has not been paid. She finds said owner by using items in the locker, specifically a burial flag, to find out it's Peter Sadusky's locker. The flag belonged to his son, who is now dead. So she goes to his house to be like, hey, can you pay your rent? And he sees her necklace. This necklace that will also stand for the treasure, because I didn't want to print another photo, but this necklace. And he attempts multiple times to give her a clue that's addressed to his grandson, and she refuses, but he manages to slip it into her backpack anyway. While there, she also meets Miles, his nurse. Miles becomes more important far later in the story than he is now. Oh, important things about the necklace. Sadusky sees it, tells her her father was a part of a group of treasure protectors, and like, the symbol is important. But as she leaves, we find out Billy has been monitoring Sadusky's house with like cameras and stuff. So she sees this and is like, wonder what that's about. No one ever goes to visit this old man. So the next day, FBI agents show up at Jess's work, and they're like, hey, Peter Sadusky is dead. Peter's dead. You were the last person to visit him. What's up with that? Like, what do you know? Turns out, Jess figures out these agents are fakes. These agents have been sent by Billy. And they're trying to just figure out what Jess knows, because they're like, she was the last person to see him. He's dead now. But she lies. She says he never gave her anything, and they move on. Billy's like, I bet she knows something. So she sends her goons, one of them being Casey. The other one's not really important, but Casey and them to go ransack Jess's apartment where she lives with Tasha. After the girls come home and see the apartment's been ransacked, they freak out because they have a box of Sadusky's things, like his flag and a lot of like family important things that they think the family might want, even if he can't, like, even if like the unit goes up for sale, whatever. But they have that, and they're freaking out because they think whoever ransacked their apartment took it. Turns out it was Oren. Oren and Tasha used to date, so Oren's been moving out. They were originally on a break. They are now completely broken up. But Oren took it and he brings it back, and the girls are like very relieved. And at this point, they're like, okay, we need to track down Liam and like try to give him his stuff back. So they track down Liam and they find him. He works at a bar. The bar's name is Squeaky Pete's, and Liam, bestie over here, he performs there. He is a singer-songwriter. He plays guitar. He's also a bartender, because the singing thing's not really working for him. When they approach Liam and talk to him about the treasure, Liam refuses to help them because he talks about how the treasure does nothing but hurt people and how it's the reason his father is dead. They also, while they're there, see Ethan on a little date with Mina. This apparently has been going on for 6 weeks, but he has told nobody about it. When they get home, Jess decides, well, if Liam doesn't want to help and he doesn't want the letter, I'll open the letter. She opens it. She finds a picture of Liam, his father, and his grandfather from when Liam was a kid. They're in a Masonic lodge, and by like figuring out the clues, she figures out that whatever treasure they're looking for is in this lodge. So they go to her and Tasha go to the lodge, pretend to be cleaning ladies to break in, and they like figure it out, and they find a box. Just like a little box. And like they're like, this is the clue, but like, what does it mean? What does it mean? Because the box has symbols on it, and they don't understand. But they find it, and at this point, Billy does not understand that Jess is a threat to her treasure hunting. So she calls Jess and is like, whatever money you want, I'll give you for like, is it the treasure, the clue? She just basically says she'll pay her any amount of money to stop. And Jess refuses. And at this point, Billy reveals that she is kidnapped. Oren. This is kind of where the episode ends. And then we cut to a prison where we see a man drawing the symbol that is on this necklace. Just a bearded man. We don't fully see him. So that's the end of episode 1. Episode 2 starts from Oren going to what he thinks is a sneaker deal to like go buy sneakers. To him finding out he's being kidnapped by Billy and her goons. So every episode kind of starts with a bit of a backtrack from a different perspective, which is nice. But that's what happens at the beginning of the second episode. Poor boy figures out he's being kidnapped. So while all this is happening, Jess and Tasha are like, you know what? Let's just not tell Ethan. Let's not get him involved. He doesn't need to know. And you know what? They were correct. And he could have stayed uninvolved for the rest of the show. But did that happen? No. They instead decide, let's go to the FBI. At the FBI, they get assigned to talk to Agent Ross. Full name, Hannah Betsy Ross. Kind of a funny joke from the writing staff. Thank you for that one. She is new to the office because she messed up in a case in DC. She was top of her class, but she like arrested the wrong person or something. So she has now been sent to Baton Rouge, which is like the least desirable FBI office or something. And she works under Agent Hendricks, who also made a really big mistake in his career. In the first National Treasure, he is the agent who does not act on a tip to arrest Nicolas Cage for stealing the Declaration of Independence, or like he just doesn't act on the information that is going to happen. So he's like, I get it, just do your best here. So Jess and Tasha have gone to talk to somebody at the FBI because they're like, hey, our friend's been kidnapped. But when they talk to Ross, they like won't give her real names, and like their story sounds insane, obviously, because they're not giving her like a bunch of details. They're just like, hey, our friend was kidnapped by like a lady who's British. So she doesn't believe him. She thinks it's a big prank and like goes about her day. So Tasha and Jess, out of luck, decide they're gonna go and just do the swap to get Oren back, right? So this is happening on the USS Kidd, old military ship. And Jess is like, we need to have a plan to like get her arrested for kidnapping our friend. So at this point, they figured out that the box opens by like doing a little spinny thing on the top. I don't know. The box opens and they find a map. So they take a picture of this, and then in the USS Kidd gift shop, which is where they're doing the exchange, they open the box back up and put a keychain inside it so that when Billy takes it out of the store, the alarm will go off and they can like have her arrested for that, and then Oren can be like, oh, she kidnapped me, da 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 da. That's their plan. So they go to the USS Kidd, they do this exchange, they get Oren back. The thing goes off because it should, right? But Billy manages to give one of her goons the box before she's arrested. She's searched, nothing's found, and then they try to accuse her of kidnapping Oren, but Oren won't agree. Oren's like, no, she didn't. And they're getting upset with him, and everyone leaves. Later, Oren does tell them, Billy said she'd kill everybody if he told anyone he was kidnapped. And they were like, oh, actually, thank you for doing that. You're a good friend. And they move on. Billy and her team, to figure out why the box, like why an alarm sounded, x-ray the box and find the keychain inside, which is how they learn that the box can open. So after telling them all that Billy threatened to kill him, Oren's like, no, you should still keep going though, which is like very supportive of him. So Jess goes back to Sadusky's house to like look for clues, which is technically a crime. She's breaking and entering. And she runs into Liam, who still won't help, but is actually allowed to be there. So Rouse decides to look into the Sadusky case because of her encounter she had earlier with Jess and Tasha, because they mentioned Sadusky as like a part of this, right? And now we jump back to Jess, who has just lost her job at the storage unit, but has successfully gained employment at Squeaky Pete's because they need waitresses. At the same time, Liam is finding out he will no longer be able to sing and has to go back to bartending because karaoke will make the bar more money than paying a musical act. He then approaches Jess and is like, hey, just kind of got fired a little bit from the job I liked to do a job I don't. I'll help you find the treasure. Let's go do that. Let's go do treasure hunting. So after they're both done with their shifts, they go back to Sadusky's house and he shows her the clue room. And like when you're in the clue room, you can see that Sadusky for some reason has evidence from the Nick Cage case where it's like the glasses that Benjamin Franklin wore and like the pipe they find at the beginning of the movie. But he also shows her a paper from the University of Mexico City that should be able to help them. Turns out, written by Jess's mother. So that's the end of episode 2. So the third episode starts with Liam and Jess watching a video of her mother reading about her paper, which is about the Pan American treasure. This video is then shown to Tasha and Oren, and at the end we see Jess's dad come in and like defend her mother and like her work after she's told that the Pan American treasure never existed. And this does change Jess's perception of her father because her entire life she's been told he was like a liar and a thief, like just not a good guy. Ethan does show up unannounced at this time, and the rest of them are like, maybe we should include him. Like, maybe. So Ethan gets to be a part of it now. Yay. Meanwhile, Ross is told by Hendrix to stop her investigation because Sadusky was just an old man who died. Like, there's no reason to look into it. But she has already ordered toxicity tests from the coroner and decides to go and still have those run anyway. She's like, what's the worst that could happen? They're probably just all gonna come back of like, he's an old man, he was on his own medication, he died naturally, whatever. So now the whole gang, that was the wrong way, the whole gang, all 5 of them, go back to the clue room and they find, I don't know what they find, I don't remember, but they find clues that lead them to Elvis, and specifically a guitar he had, which our bestie Liam, big music boy, knows would be kept in a secret room, like a secret storage room in the basement of Graceland. So, big bestie road trip up to Graceland. Ross goes down to meet the coroner. The coroner's first name is Zeke. And he's like, hey, what's going on with these toxicity tests? And when she tells him the truth that she was ordered to stop but is going anyway, he respects it and tells her the results, which are that he had multiple substances in his body, but they also found orange dye on his hands, which is kind of weird. So Ross goes, like, if I figure out what medication he was on, will that help? And they're like, yeah. So she has that in her little mind that she needs to figure out what medication Sadusky was on. The next part's going to focus on the road trip up to Graceland and, like, what they did. So they're like, we need to break in. So they come up with a plan. The plan is, Oren's going to go in, release some moss. Liam and Ross are... Ethan and Liam are going to dress up as exterminators, go in and get into the secret room and hopefully get the clue. While this works, they soon realize afterwards that they have the wrong, like they picked the wrong object in the Elvis, like, secret room. So Jess and Liam go back in and are like, we're just gonna straight up break in. So Liam causes a distraction where he starts singing an Elvis song in the main, like, room while Jess breaks in downstairs. They figure out it's like this old, like, gold record he had on his wall, and she plays it on a record player and, like, records it. They both manage to get out, but it is important to note Liam was filmed while singing. At the same time, Billy has gone down to Mexico. I believe They don't tell us where. Because she thinks she'll find another relic down there in like this temple. Because she has also opened the box now and seen the map, and one of the symbols I believe is a pyramid. So she goes to Mexico, and her and Casey are like, ooh, da 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 da, like let's go through this, and they lose another member of the team, and that's when Billy realizes this is a trap and not the right place to be. So they leave. Bestie Ethan is getting a little jealous of how close Liam and Jess are getting. He's kind of the worst. And he confronts Liam about this and is basically just like, you can't keep putting her in trouble. And he basically reveals to Liam that Jess has DACA. This is not something Jess has told Liam. And he like immediately goes to Jess and is like, hey, so sorry I did this. And like she forgives him, but she's like still upset with him. And then she goes to talk to Liam, and Liam's like, hey, it's fine, like it doesn't matter, but like maybe you shouldn't do this if there's a risk of you getting deported. And just is like, this is just what I didn't want. This is why I don't normally tell people I have DACA, because I don't want them to think differently. And he goes, I don't. Also, I found a secret message in the Elvis clue. Fun fact. So they have found a secret clue in the Elvis message. And the episode ends with Billy and Casey flying back from Mexico and Billy getting the same clue. So Billy now also has the Elvis clue, but we don't know how. Oh, it's also important to note that by this point, one of the times I went into the clue room, because I couldn't remember which, they find something that says, beware of Salazar, our big mystery guy down here, Salazar. So there's also that going on. Episode 4 is gonna be Sadusky's wake. It's like the big plot going on here. So nobody has been able to figure out what the Elvis clue means, and that is starting to cause a little bit of tension, especially because Jess has also on the side been meeting with a lot of experts on Mesoamerica, and they keep telling her that her theories about the treasure are wrong and that the Pan American treasure never existed. I've never explained what the Pan American treasure is. In the show, the Pan American treasure is the treasure of the Maya, Inca, and Aztec empires, and was hidden away by the women of these empires when Cortez invaded South America. And the women who protect this are called the Daughters of the Blue Serpent. And it is believed by Jess's mother that the woman who translated for Cortez, her name was Maliche, actually worked for the Daughters of the Blue Serpent and like worked to actively keep Cortez from finding the treasure, while most other history is like, oh, she was a horrible traitor to her people. So that's the treasure they're looking for. Everybody's stressed. They can't figure anything out. Experts are telling them they're wrong. And at this point, Liam is like, oh, everyone who's here, because Ethan isn't there, why don't you all come to the wake? And everyone's like, you know what, maybe we should, and we can go look through the clue room again, see if there's anything new. We also get a cut to Riley from the original movies, Riley Poole, landing for Sadusky's funeral and basically giving us an explanation of why we do not see Nicolas Cage, which is that Nick's daughter is sick and his wife is busy working. Ethan doesn't come to the wake because Ethan is playing golf. Ethan does not like golf. This is important. Later. But Billy, at this time during the wake, is in New York City, attending a board meeting of this mysterious conglomerate that likes to fund her activities. And they're disappointed with her work, but she plays them the Elvis clue, and they're just kind of like, okay. And then when she leaves this meeting, one of the members has his goons like attack her in the garage, but Billy obviously has better goons, so she wins and is like, don't ever like underestimate me, blah 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 blah, right? So that's what Billy's doing. So during the wake, Jess and Liam bond more because her mom's dead, and she's like, I understand how you feel, blah 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 blah. And then she is introduced to Riley, and like they're like, hey, maybe Riley can help with the clue. And because we all know Riley was not helpful in the movies, he can't help now. But he texts a clue to Ben to see if Ben can help. They then, during this time, Oren figures out Riley's there, is like, oh my god, I gotta go back to my apartment. And by my apartment, I mean Ethan's apartment, because I've moved in with my friend, and get all my books to see if he'll sign them. So he does that, and when he's there, he runs into Ethan and Mina, who have just come out of the bedroom, shall we say, and Mina is like, oh my god, Riley, love him. I would love to meet him. Can we go to the wake? This wake is wild. Like, it's just a meet and greet at this point. And Ethan's like, I guess we should probably go. So they come back with Oren. Ross is also at the wake, because, like, everybody's here. Very jobless of them all. But, like, also, I do kind of get it. Like, respected FBI agent would be a lot of people. But a little jobless. And she is talking to Miles and is intending to get Miles the nurse. Let's not forget, Miles is the nurse. And is intending to get all of Sandusky's medical information so she can give it to Zeke, so she can, like, narrow things down, right? And she also, while she's looking through Sandusky's drugs, finds a plant in his office that is toxic and is like, maybe this is part of it. Hendricks reveals that he didn't arrest Ben and Riley when it was rumored that we're gonna steal the Declaration of Independence, and, like, explains it to Hendricks. Not Hendricks. Hendricks explains it to Ross. He kind of, at this point, supports her investigation. Is like, hey, I made a mistake. I'd rather you go through and double check and make sure this was just a natural death, and not kind of live under the scrutiny I did. During the wake, Riley finds the secret room, and Jess goes into the room looking for, like, Liam and other people, and Riley sees the glasses from the movie, and he goes to pick them up, causing the room to lock down, and part of the lockdown procedures is all of the oxygen gets sucked out of the room. Not good. So they have to find this little code number to, like, get out of the room, and you only have, like, 3 tries to input the numbers. But, like, it's a weird thing, so if you put in, like, the first 4, but then you mess up the last 2, you still have the first 4 in there, so you only have to get the last 2 right again. During this time, because no one knows this is happening, Liam is told by Miles that his grandfather actually really enjoyed his music, especially a song about a van he wrote, and this is news to Liam because he thought his grandfather never listened to his music, but he's happy to have family support. Hendricks gives a eulogy because he knew Sandusky, obviously, from when he worked in DC, and Jess and Riley are still trying to find the passcode. They mess up twice, and they are at, like, less than 20% of oxygen, and during this time, it keeps cutting back and forth, so, like, Liam plays the song for, like, his grandfather and stuff, and everyone else is just kind of like, haven't seen Jess for a while, wonder where she is. So the group goes off to look for Jess, and they walk in right as she and Riley are, like, getting out of the clue room, but good news is, they have figured out that the next clue for the treasure hunt is connected to Sacagawea and the journal of Meriwether Lewis that is in the governor's mansion. As the episode ends with Riley leaving to go home, but Ben texting him and being like, hey, you know that clue you sent me? My mother was approached by people to figure out the same thing. Somebody is leaking information from this group. And Riley tells Jess, he's like, hey, you can't trust everybody because other people know. And that's where we leave episode 4. Episode 5, we start with Billy struggling, which is not how a girl boss should work. Quickly cut to Jess and Tasha sweeping their apartment for bugs because they don't want to believe someone is leaking information. They're going to check for bugs first. And their apartment is coming up clean. Jess thinks the mole is Liam, but Tasha doesn't. So Jess decides to go with Liam to the governor's mansion to look at this journal. But then she ends up going with Ethan instead. She doesn't go with Liam. She's kind of ghosting Liam. Her and Liam also kissed, I believe by now, at his grandfather's wake. So they're kind of like a thing now. So this is why Jess is kind of like upset if Liam's a mole. But like, they're kind of romantically a thing. But Jess is going to go with Ethan to the mansion. During this time, Billy was on her way to interrupt an auction, a black market objects auction. And she wants the auctioneer to give her a journal that is supposedly written by Millie J. and has clues to the treasure. While they're on their way to the mansion, they're like, Jess is like, oh my god, hey, by the way, Billy has a clue, so there's like a mole. And Ethan immediately is like, it's Liam. Like, who else would it be? It's Liam. This is nasty behavior, sir. And they as they walk through the mansion to like look for this exhibit, because I guess governor's mansions are also kind of museums, I don't know. They see Liam and they're like, what's he doing here? The journal isn't out. So he's like asking a security guard, and he's like, hey, like, can you ever see the journal? And they're like, yeah, it'll be on display tomorrow at the governor's ball. Which tickets are like $500. And then as he leaves, they hear him on the phone saying he needs money transferred today. And they're like, oh my god, what's this about? Must actually be the mole. But back home, after they get back home, Tasha tells Jess that she hacked into Liam's bank account. And that Liam just had like $50,000 deposited into his account. And Jess now has to go to work with Liam, where she tries to avoid him. She can't, because they work together in a restaurant. And then he tells her that he went to the mansion. She does not tell him that she went. And he's like, by the way, I have 2 tickets to the governor's ball so we can go see the journal tomorrow. And when he asks what's wrong, Jess admits that Billy has the clue. And that she knows about the money that's been wired into his account. And then Liam is like, this is what treasure hunting does to people. It turns everybody against each other. So he's very like, I'm not the mole. How dare you blame me? Back over with Ross in the FBI department. Ross is talking with Zeke about the plant they found. Zeke tells her he'll check Zadesky's stomach contents. Jess is contemplating if she made a mistake, trusting Liam, when Oren walks in and he's like, what's this thing? And he picks up the bug detector and it is just going off like crazy. And they find out that the bug was planted in Oren's shoe when he was kidnapped. So they like rip it out and destroy it. Back to Billy, who now has this journal. She goes down to Mexico City to talk to an expert. It is the same expert that Jess has also spoken to, and is like, here's this journal, and he's like, it's a fake. And she is mad. She's very mad, because she also gets told that the treasure is fake. And Jess apologizes to Liam. He forgives her, and basically is like, by the way, the money is a loan from my mother, so I can pay the property taxes on my grandfather's house that now belongs to me. And they're like, all good, and they're gonna go to the governor's ball the next day. Billy is back on her plane, and has now learned that the bug was found and like destroyed. But she also learns from a video that Oren posted that Jess has a necklace on with a symbol of the Daughters of the Blue Serpent, because when they went to go get Oren back on the USS Kid, she hid it because they were like, oh, don't let Billy know how much you might know. So they hid it then, but it was out in a video that Oren posted. So Billy now knows. She thinks Jess is the daughter of a man named Raphael who died 20 years ago. But it was also believed that his wife and daughter died while trying to cross the border. And at the same time, she also learns that the journal they need for the next clue will be on display the next night at the governor's mansion. So Billy's playing catch-up. Everyone's getting ready for the governor's ball. right? So Jess is like pulling out her prom dress to see if that still fits, and Liam doesn't have a suit that fits well, so he goes to Oren, who has tailoring skills apparently. We love to learn things. And then Mina announces, as they're there, because they're at Ethan's apartment, that she has also acquired 2 tickets to the governor's ball so that her and Ethan can go on a double date with Jess and Liam. This girl means well, and she is way too good for Ethan. But, like, it's a little funny. So at the same time, Ross, doing Ross things, learns that the plant she found did in fact contribute to Sadusky's death. So she's making progress. She starts piecing together the story that Jess and Tasha told her and was like, maybe I should look at footage that day from the USS Kid, because, like, they told her where it was happening and everything. So she goes to look at that. We've now found out that everybody, the whole gang, gets to go. So everybody's getting dressed up. The whole gang plus Mina gets to go to the governor's ball. So everybody's dressed up, but when they get there, they won't let Liam in because Liam isn't wearing a tie and it's a black tie event. So Jess rips off part of her dress and ties it around his neck, and they're like, yeah, that works, I guess. Wild. And they get let in. Oren is given a list of things he's not allowed to talk about. That doesn't work. He still talks about the sneaker business he wants to pitch and, like, actually gets people interested. Tasha is also told she can't get overly political at the thing because they're just there for the journal. It doesn't matter. However, when upon arrival, they learn that the event is also a birthday party, a surprise birthday party for the governor. So everyone will be very distracted when they bring the cake out. Perfect time to go get the journal. However, the song Bad Romance by Lady Gaga plays. And Jess and Ethan have learned and performed a dance to this. They've performed it twice. Once was at their prom, and the other, I believe, was for a talent show. But they are asked by their friends to perform it again, and when they do, it shows Mina how much chemistry these two have, and she thinks Ethan might be into Jess. That is a correct statement. Ethan is very much so into Jess. Jess is happy that they are friends. But Mina runs away, and then at the same time, Liam also has disappeared. So that's a bit of a problem. However, right after this dance happens, the cake comes out, and they're like, oh, shoot, we gotta go. So Jess goes up to try to get the journal out of the case, and as she enters the room, she sees Liam running away with it. And at the same time, a security guard comes in and starts yelling at her because he believes she has taken the journal. And so she has to run, like, for her life at this point. So she's running downstairs and manages to, like, get Tasha's attention to cause a distraction. So Tasha starts, like, going off on this big political rant about how the governor's not doing something or whatever. I don't really remember what it was about, which allows Jess to escape. However, Jess, outside the mansion, is getting still chased down. And her one option pulls up in a car. And who is driving that car but Billy? And Billy tells her to get in, or basically get arrested. So episode 5 ends with Jess getting into Billy's car and them driving away. That was the first 5 episodes. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time for the rest of them. And I'm feeling really nice, so I might throw up everybody's picture at the end so you can clearly see what people look like. Yeah, that's all I've got for now. We'll talk more next week about this. Thanks for watching. Okay, bye.